In this episode of the Sam Oldham podcast, I'm joined by Joe Fishburn, the 2025 Gladiators champion. He represented Great Britain in the sport of team gym, winning 2 European medals, and this is his story. Joe, thanks for joining us, mate. I've been very excited about this because me and my family are massive Gladiator fans. I watched it in the 90s. I remember watching Wolf and Storm. And I think, to be honest, I was thinking about this before we started this conversation. And actually, yesterday when I was reflecting, I think my first crushes were some of the Gladiators in the 90s. So like Storm and Lightning, I genuinely think. I remember Saturday nights was Gladiators, Blind Date, and you remember that program where you'd come out, Stars in Their Eyes. Do you remember that? Where you'd come out and I'm a bit older than you, but
you are.
Sam will remember. But Saturday nights were amazing for that. And so when they brought the show back and I watched the first series, number one, I was thinking, will there be a gymnast gladiator? Because that would be really cool because you'd have super good advantages on some of the events. But then to see yourself come through, do so well, promoting the sport of gymnastics and winning, mate, it's an amazing achievement. Just tell me a bit about what life has maybe been like since winning, because I'm sure you've had loads of opportunities, but also as well, I imagine that was filmed a long time ago, and so the TV thing is very strange, isn't it? Because you have to sit quiet on things like this for a long time.
Yeah, mate, I mean, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. Definitely worth the trip down. And I'm a little bit starstruck. It's cool to see you as well. I remember watching you on my TV when I was younger, so that's awesome. So genuinely, thank you so much. I mean, you got it in a nutshell there. The whole reason I wanted to be on the show was obviously, and you'll know, I'm so passionate about gymnastics. Has its highs, has its lows, and I wanted to kind of share for the gymnasts, but also for the people out there, just kind of what gymnastics has brought to my life, because I genuinely believe it's like the cornerstone of everything I do. And Gladiators was the perfect opportunity to do that. I don't remember it in the 90s because I'm lucky enough to be this side of the 2000s. But it was the most amazing experience. And what it's brought for me is just kind of a highlight on the sport and definitely team gym, which is obviously my discipline of gymnastics, which we'll maybe get into a little bit later, which obviously I've done since I was a child and I've grown up in, and I know you're from an artistic background, which is cool, and it's going to be good to have a bit of back and forth about that. And yeah, it has been the most amazing thing. And they've done so well in the reboot. I think, so obviously it's like that tricky second movie, isn't it? It's like, oh, and I know that they'll have had a lot of thought about that and how they're going to do it. And I think they've done lots of things right. They've kept kind of the old, real good bits without just replicating the same, and they've brought new events in. Obviously, they've got new gladiators, and they've had little references and ways they're doing things, and the costumes, all these things that go into a production are all so important and integral in making it work. And like you said, they've really capsulated the old audience who are now when they were watching it as kids, watching it with their 32 kids, and you're like, wow, that's so cool. So it must be really cool. I mean, I applied as a gladiator when I heard it was going to come back.
Really? So you applied to be a gladiator?
So I know an old contender, and I don't know if you remember him. You might remember him when I say something, from 1993, Roddy Mackay, and he was a gymnast. Now he's blown up and again gone a bit viral again recently with the show, just because he was playing Wolf on Hang Tough, and Wolf managed to nearly pull his pants off. He pulled his costume down.
Really? And
Roddy was amazing, and he's a dear friend of mine. And when the show was getting remade, he was like, right, this is you. You've got to do it. You've got the background. You've got the rugby, the gymnastics. This is you. And I could see him get excited about it. So obviously didn't get on as a gladiator in the first show. And again, it might be lots of things. Sometimes, you're just not what they're looking for. And the end of series 1, I saw the apply to be a contender, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a go. Applied, obviously went through kind of a long trial process and what we're doing and all of those things. And then, just ended up on the show.
And is that how the process actually works, Joe? So when you see a show like the Gladiators, or let's say SAS Who Dares Wins, when it comes up with if you're interested in being on the show, if you think you're the right fit for it, apply now. Is that literally how it works? Because I think some people think, oh, do you have to know someone that knows someone to then get into one of these things? Is it literally a case of you sign up and then someone reaches out to you and contacts you?
I think it's hard, isn't it? I mean, every experience and every casting experience is going to be different because, again, you'd be looking at lots of different avenues, and I'm sure people are just contacted, people apply.
Right, so they seek out the talent in some situations, probably.
I think so, and I know they'll be watching things and events, and probably nowadays, social media is such a big thing, so they can probably have a good idea who someone is before they even see them.
Okay,
so, I think the gymnast angle really helped, and being a gymnastics coach.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was kind of my angle and the angle they wanted to use. And yeah, we went through an extensive kind of trial process, and obviously things like preparing, like trying in front of camera, and just fitness tests really. And yeah, and then obviously the whole time you'll know we're from the same background. You know what this is like, and in gymnastics where you might be like suddenly called up, or like you're on edge the whole time and you're thinking, right, I need to be ready to perform, but I don't want to do this. And yet, so getting the final call saying, right, we want you to do the show, it was crazy.
And what were the numbers, Joe? Like, how many people did you have to beat to get just into the final call to like go on the show?
Well, there's, again, I unofficially don't know how many people applied.
Okay, right.
But I can say it was tens of thousands.
Wow.
So
that in itself is a massive achievement, isn't it?
It's incredible. And that's the thing. I genuinely felt like I had won before I even stepped on the show. And I think obviously sat here saying that, people are probably going to think, oh, well, yeah, it's okay for you to say you won. But I'd like to think if you asked anyone alongside me in the experience, we're gymnasts. We've learned, I'm sure you'll tell me that some of your favourite memories are the journey towards the medals, not the medals themselves. Yeah. And I learned that in gymnastics. So going into this experience, I was like, I'm going to enjoy every second. The training, getting to meet these people, be involved in the television side of things. And if I get to win a show, that was obviously a goal. I was thinking I'd love to go through the paper first once and then go and give my mum a hug. Yeah. But yeah, and you have to approach it kind of like, right, okay, this is my event, this is what I'm doing. Right, that's done. Okay, that went well, didn't go well, whatever. Have a break. Right, next one, you're on. So it's just mirroring that gymnastic environment quite well, with obviously like, wait, right, we're filming, right, so.
Having gone through that process now and having been successful as well, Joe, what do you think that the casting team are looking for in somebody that's going to come on as a contender? Like, does it have to be an equal mix of, you spoke, it's TV, right? So there's a personality element, and you talk there about seeing what you like on camera. I guess the basis and the fundamentals of it, it's got to be someone that's pretty fit, right? But do you need to bring those two things when you're coming on a show like that? Or were there contestants that maybe weren't great on camera, struggled with that, but they were just so good in their area of sports, it was more about, let's see how they perform on these events. We've not had this sport on here before.
I think, again, it's such, in a casting process, it must be kind of, they know what they want. They probably have a bit of space to kind of be like, a wild card or something, or a few people where they're like, oh, we don't know how they're going to respond and stuff. But they're looking in the contenders for the best comparison is, I think, that I've kind of created, and when I've been doing the interviews, is the gladiators are like superhumans for the kids to kind of look up to and be like, wow, because they're in this series and in this reboot, they're elite level athletes, Olympians, just incredible all round people. And the contenders are challenging them, they're going up against them. So I think they want people from different backgrounds, people who have a story to tell or share. And I don't necessarily think it matters how good you are in front of camera, because I'd be lying if I said like I walked in and just started, talking and dancing. Like I'm not amazing in front of camera. I'm just quite good at, again, it's coaching as well, being able to switch it on and when the time comes to it, being able to do it.
Yeah, I guess the reason I ask that is that there'll be loads of people that sit at home and their missus or they'll say to their missus maybe, or their partner, oh, you should apply for that show, you'd be great on it, but no one ever really does it. It's one of those things that you never do. Yeah. It's like when there's like a thing on TV, like to win a free holiday and 100 grand. You're like, no, surely no one ever wins that. It's like that kind of thing, isn't it? So it's great to like know that someone's been through that. Actually, that's how it works. I applied for SAS Who Dares Wins once, but never got anything back. back. And I
That
was
would
like,
be amazing.
But I wanted to go on just like this normal version. Because some people were like, go on the one with celebrity. And I was like, I don't think that they do the same, they go through the same process as everyone else, because everyone else I think do 2 or 3 weeks and the celebrities like 4 or 5 days. And I was like, no, I want to do it like hardcore. Like
You just want to do basic training.
yeah, basically I should just sign up, right? But I'm never going to get that signed off by my fiance, so that's probably why.
They need to make that
I
happen.
went down that route.
If anyone's listening,
anyone,
Sam and Joe
anyone,
on,
I would love it.
SA.
Yeah, both of those, that'd be brilliant. So let's take it back then, mate. Before Gladiators, because I want to hear about your story, your gymnastics journey. What were you like as a kid, Joe? Maybe before you even walked into a gymnastics club. What were you like? What was your personality like? And do you think that, you know, you still have those fundamental characteristics today? If I'd have gone back and seen you running around the playground as a kid, would I be like, yeah, that's Joe. He's just the same as he is right now?
It's an interesting question, really. I think I'll have to think about it a little bit. I think the best person to tell me what I was probably like as a kid will be my grandma, Christine. So,
how do you think she would have answered that question?
I think, so obviously my story is when I was 2, I lost my mum, and I've never had a father figure present. So not had my dad in the picture, which some people might be able to relate to out there. And for me, I feel really lucky because I went into a super supportive family environment. And I'm currently working with a charity called Kinship, which support these kind of family environments to try and raise awareness for that. And there's so many kids out there or people who go through these things and don't get a really supportive environment. So I genuinely consider myself really lucky to have lost my mum, not had a dad, and had a family and amazing grandma that brought me up to be the kind of person I am today. So I think I was very energetic. My mum used to say, Christine, I refer to her as my mum. She used to say I was super energetic, and that's how I got started in gymnastics. She sent me to an after-school club with Scarborough Gymnastics Academy, which was originally in a sports hall, and then they got into their purpose-built facility, you know, that usual gymnastics journey for the clubs, which is amazing, and I'm still amazingly close friends with them, and I think they're responsible, and it just highlights just how important these clubs are, stories. I mean, I know, honestly, you speak so compassionately about your experiences, your coaches, all of these things. And I suppose, looking back, I've had the most amazing, obviously it's full of highs and lows, but in that situation, I was lucky to have such an amazing kind of support group around me, from family to gymnastics to when I was at the rugby teams as well. And I think that's why gymnastics is so special, because it's not just all about the achievements. And we were talking before about how you doing this, us having this conversation, you never know who's listening, and you never know who might just think, you know what, I'm going to go and see how gymnastics can fit into my life. So I think sometimes I'm lucky to have had a gymnastics journey that started from the very start. I think I was 5 when I first got into it, and genuinely, I was terrible. Genuinely, I say to all the kids I coach, they're so much better than I was. And I always remember kind of not being just do you know when someone has to kind of work hard? And I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but it doesn't naturally come to them.
Yeah.
I had lots of battles and struggles with things, and I just kind of didn't give up. And I mean, the first time I made the national team, I was 17 in the year. So 16, 17, and I mean, that is late for, I mean, you know, like majority of people's gymnastics careers are done by then, and they're on the next thing. So I think I'm just a testament of, if you actually want something, and there's going to be times where you don't feel like it, but just kind of not giving up and go through that gymnastics journey.
From the get-go, Joe, was it team gym from the beginning when you walked through the gym? Was that predominantly the discipline that was taught in your gymnastics club?
Yeah, that was just what Scarborough Gymnastics did. And obviously, I had no idea really what I was doing. When you're a kid, you just kind of like turn up and you're doing whatever. So I had no idea. Obviously, team gym is a discipline that originated from Scandinavian countries. And again, now, obviously, it's come on incredibly. And the things and the people and the athletes in the sport now, which is another reason, like I said, I wanted to, try and raise awareness. So I'm always happy to do that. But yeah, team gym from the start. So no artistic background. I won't be doing any circles for you.
So for people listening, Joe, because I'd say that predominantly our listeners are from an artistic gymnastics background, the ones that are from the gymnastics community. Can you just explain what team gym is for us?
Yeah. So I sometimes, and I'll probably get in a bit of trouble for this, but I used to refer to it a little bit as the kind of Sunday league of gymnastics. And I think that's an okay referral, because team gym really allows for you to have, when you're younger, to have other priorities as well, which I think is massive for kids nowadays. So team gym, we do tumbling, trampette vault, which come in the same piece, and we have a floor routine. So you have to be able to perform the high explosive tumbling passes, forwards, backwards, and a mix of the two. You also have to be able to use your trampoline skills to hit the mini tramp, aerial awareness, spatial awareness, and be able to vault as well, while then having to complete a set of floor skills, flexibility skills, acro elements, and to be able to dance. And that's where a lot of the artistic boys and that they always chat to me, and they're like, because I say to them, you should give this a go, because you'll know sometimes people will come across and they can translate really well, and they hear kind of the words dance or I have to dance, and they're like, oh no, like I'm not doing that. Or
it's really interesting because you explaining the sport there, I was going, these are the most explosive elements of artistic gymnastics. You're doing tumbling, you're doing vaulting, like that's the exciting stuff that people want to watch. But even when, you started to explain the floor routine there and you said, and we dance and we do these, I was like, that's where you'll lose the artistic guys. And I think that's because there is almost an insecurity in artistic men's gymnastics from the get-go, because potentially it's predominantly a female-dominated sport, which is very unique, right? There's not many sports where there are way more females participating in the sport than men in artistic gymnastics. And I think the angle there is actually an insecurity of, well, I'm already conscious that people think that I'm doing a girl's sport anyway.
And I'm in a leotard.
Yeah, so I had to dance, which is, because you explained that to me there, and I probably would have been able to guess that that was the breakdown of the discipline. But I'm going, well, they're the most exciting things to watch. And actually, a lot of the best artistic gymnasts, particularly the ones that are very good with spatial awareness on floor and vault, if they retire from gymnastics and they can't go on the rings anymore because their shoulders are shot, they'd probably be all right trying team gym and giving it a go. So it's really interesting that you do say that. I do think that there is like an element of arrogance within artistic gymnastics, and every single sport I've seen this, where the other disciplines that aren't maybe an Olympic discipline and not so well known, it's kind of like, you said it straight away when you came in, right? You're going to say, oh, that guy's from team gym. And I was like, oh, that would have been my response 10 years ago, but not now, because I have enough life experience to appreciate that, every single sport is unique. And just because there are 6 men's apparatus and you train 6 hours a day, and somebody does a different sport and they only train, it doesn't matter. Like, you're comparing apples to, just don't compare them. It's just a different thing. So it's really interesting to hear that from you, mate. What role do you think, Joe, gymnastics played in your life, particularly maybe as you became a teenager and you spoke about your mum passing away and your grandma bringing you up, maybe not having those male role models? Did you have a granddad?
Yeah.
Yeah, so did he play that father figure in your role, or was maybe that filled by the sport of gymnastics and potentially teammates and a coach? Or what impact do you think gymnastics had at that time? Because when you're growing up, right, and you're a young guy and you've got a big personality, right, you're starting to test the waters and you're figuring things out, and sometimes you need that discipline and that figure there in your life. What role did gymnastics play in your life when you were a teenager, Joe?
Yeah, I think just to finish on the artistic point there as well, I mean, I like to think, and again, artistic gymnastics, I think it's the flagship, isn't it, of gymnastics. It's the main component, and it is the most incredible sport, which it requires way much more kind of feats of strength in different areas and being all-rounded and being able to do this. And it's kind of, I'm so grateful for it, because it's where obviously I originated from. And we just see team gym as, when you start and like anything. And I mean, I watch tumbling as well, and I think there's no way you're making me do any more skills down the track. And they're twisting transitions, putting triples on the track and whipping out of them. And I'm like, you're crazy. And then the biggest thing about team gym, I just think it's a little bit more modernised and a spectator sport, because again, there's 6 of us running down the track, one after each other, with really loud music on. So I think there's some amazing companies that are doing great work with it, like Face Off, making it an event, which I think personally, only does more benefit for all of the gymnasts.
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
think
yeah.
everyone's just got to club together and
Yeah.
like we're doing, chatting about it. We all need to do that. But yeah, in terms of what gymnastics has done for me, genuinely, I think it has given me the fundamentals in life to go forwards. And when you face the challenges in the real world, I mean, you face a lot of challenges in gymnastics, but nothing really prepares you for when you turn 18 and then suddenly, I mean, I'm 24 now, and the last 6 years have been crazy. The challenges, and I think without gymnastics, and you said those role models, I would have really struggled. And I said before I came in, I remember watching you at home on TV. I remember watching the 2012 Olympics. I remember just all the gymnasts know who the kind of like top gymnasts are, don't you, at the top while you do when you're younger, because even as a team gymnast, we were looking up to like you guys, because we didn't know who the best team gymnast was in the world, and as we've kind of grown through that sport, those role models start to appear. I had the opportunity to kind of go on TV and say that I was from this type of gymnastics. Yeah. And that's a benefit for everyone, because now we've got team gym kids out there going, oh, well, no one spoke about team gym before and that. So, yeah, no, I have an uncle who was pretty influential in terms of, like saying, I keep going off topic, to probably help instill kind of those facts into me about the world. Because obviously, I mean, I don't know your full family history, but mothers and grandparents and mums, they're all so compassionate and caring, and they want the best for you, all of those things. And then you have that kind of, what I imagine a dad would have been like. My uncle was like that, and he kind of said, right, well, this is kind of wrong, or like, you need to be working hard, you need to be doing this. And I mean, today, the challenges and the world that we're in, the challenges the kids are going to face, I think there's no better thing than gymnastics to help prepare them for what they're going to do. And that's why we're so passionate about spreading the love for the sport. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I do thoroughly believe that those challenges set children up for the next step. Yeah. And they might not get to the Olympics, they might not kind of achieve what they thought their goal was going to be. Yeah. Which is why I'm so passionate about just going, whoa. Like, can you just enjoy what you're doing right now? Because even now we're talking about gymnastics, and I'm getting a bit like, oh, well, maybe I should go and do some flips. You know? So,
but it's great, isn't it, mate, that there's a place for kids to go if they don't fit into the quite rigid structure of artistic gymnastics. And I remember having a conversation with a parkour athlete. His name was Ryan, and he was a Red Bull athlete, and we met. We did like a crossover. And he said, I started with artistic gymnastics, but they didn't like that I was doing parkour. Like, so I don't like artistic gymnastics. I was like, I can see that, because you do get a lot of kids that just like the tumbling and the vault and going on trampoline, but I don't want to do the apparatus. But I think in the past, maybe there's not been somewhere for them to go. Whereas now, the great thing about having lots of disciplines that are starting to flourish in many ways. You spoke about particularly what they're doing with like Team Gym in Scandinavia. I know it's a big deal over there. I've seen some of these shows and stuff.
It's like a religion.
It's so exciting, like so cool. And actually, artistic could take a leaf out of their book and think about the way that they're putting together these big competitions to make it more compelling to the audience, particularly on the men's side, to try and build up that following and that fan base. It's like the stuff that I'm seeing over there, I'm like, that's cool. That's what we need over here. Like, it's, in some ways, it's very old school and traditional, and actually we need to bring it into 2025. And for some people, they completely disagree with that. And for me, it's just that I'm thinking about the athletes and making sure that they can have proper long careers and make money from this so they can keep doing gymnastics for longer. And that's the stance that I come with on that. But it's very cool that there is a place, and whether it's team gym, trampolining, tumbling, rhythmic gymnastics, whatever that might be, acro, there are loads of different disciplines. So if you try artistic in the beginning, because most kids will try that in the beginning when they start gymnastics, because I imagine there are more artistic clubs, just because you don't enjoy that discipline of gymnastics doesn't mean there's not lots of other opportunities.
I think you're so right. You've really hit the nail on the head there. And I think for me, the main... If I see gymnastics growing, okay, I think that's a benefit, a positive. So I think what happens is, and I mean, in performance gymnastics, and I mean, to produce these Olympians, and you are by far well more versed than I am with high performance coaches, and you, do you know what I mean, spend your time with these people who are so influential, and yourself, you're part of history in gymnastics. You guys and artistic and all of that, I feel like sometimes people might, like you say, their kid might come and try that, they don't really fit in, and then straight away it's like, oh, I don't like gymnastics. And I'm like, whoa, no, like, what? No. Like, there's all these different things you could be doing. And elite level gymnastics is amazing, but it's for 0.1% of the populace.
Yeah.
However, I feel like people see gymnastics as like, oh no, you've got to be like really good to do that. And I'm like, no. I thoroughly believe all kids should be doing gymnastics for a period of their life.
Yeah.
And it's quite common in European countries, like they'll go through phases of doing gymnastics from a younger age. And I did a lot of research regarding it when I was at university. And then they might dip out, and obviously as it becomes a little bit less cool to be prancing around a little bit, they'll slip into football as well. But I think it builds a better, more rounded athlete. And what I would say maybe is one of the biggest differences, and I know I was listening to one of your discussions, the hardest thing I think is to build longevity in gymnasts' careers, like you say, from a monetary standpoint, but also from their enjoyment side, because if you're not ticking all these boxes and you've not got a good group of lads around you as you're growing up. Now, I'm so proud to say that in Team Gym, and again, I know like Leeds and these other clubs have amazing kind of junior, senior men setups.
Yeah.
But they're so few and far between. And in Team Gym, you'll have a group of lads, I can think of a few now, that are all in their mid-20s, late 20s, have full-time jobs doing other things.
Yeah.
But they come together a couple of nights a week to train, and then they can still compete. And you might have a couple really good ones who are still doing it nationally. And it just promotes good all-around fitness, health, everything.
I think you're absolutely right, mate. And I do wonder when you say that, whether that's because the stakes are so high then in artistic in that. Don't drink it too fast.
Goodness me. Oh, we've got to cut that out. Oh my gosh.
Don't worry, we'll keep it in, mate. So I do wonder though whether, because the stakes are so high in artistic and there is the potential to go to the Olympics and have a career and earn money, whether that changed the fabric of the approach, and maybe that's why it's more intense and there's not as many groups of 25 to 28-year-olds, because if I am potentially trying to compete against my training partner and beat him for a spot on the team to secure my funding, maybe that's where that intensity and that because I know exactly what you're talking about, and I don't know that there are many spaces within artistic where, you know, I'm trying to think of the closest thing I could think of is probably a university that, you know, there are hardly any that exist anymore where you can go to university specifically to kind of train gymnastics and study alongside it. Maybe that group of artistic gymnasts that existed at Loughborough University when I was training there, that are all around my age, I often look at their gymnastics experience and go, you had a very different experience to me. Like, for you guys, it was just so much fun and you had a great time, and you kind of like, you look back with just positive memories, where it's very different for many artistic athletes. So I think that's a really interesting conversation. And I do often look at the other disciplines and go, you guys just look like you're having a lot more fun.
I think the biggest thing that you've not touched on there, it's just the time you can fit it into.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Because I think like for you to operate across multiple pieces like that, it's a very different. And yeah, there is a part of it where you're like, well, you're not going to perform at maybe the highest level, but how can we encourage people to maybe stay in those social circles, still keep competing and having a go? Because you'll know yourself, I mean, I'm sure you're still pretty nifty, and you maybe, once you've learnt gymnastics, your body, like, I genuinely think never forgets it. And it's often like the physical side that you need to keep up. Because I know I'll be popping some backflips into my 40s. So I think there's definitely space somehow. I don't know how you, again, that's a thing, but I feel like people like yourself do a great job with that. And it's why we say all the time, like, gymnastics isn't just that top 1%. It's what can it be for you?
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. And I wish, you know, I've often thought about it. Like, is there a way that I can still train and still compete or do some things? Like, I can't do it at the level I did before, but I'm not interested in that. And I do, every couple of weeks, I'll go in the gym and I'll swing around the bar, and I have to stress that Any other apparatus I don't want to touch, but high bar seems to be
I watched you
okay.
doing a giant the other day.
Yeah, high bar seems to be okay on the body still. And there are some changes. There are like online competitions in artistic at the moment where there's like somebody has essentially set up this competition format where you enter a routine that you just did in the training gym. It's judged by a panel of judges, and you can like win money to do it. And
I love that.
You just do like 5 moves, and it's judged out of 10. It's like very cool and quite innovative. And so I thought maybe I could do that, but there isn't, maybe what it is like veterans gymnastics or something, but I have often thought, imagine if you could like
a baller league.
Yeah, just something
of
something cool. A
gymnastics.
bit like, what is it? Is it the NBA All-Stars that go around like as like a group, like something like that? I think there's the capacity for it there. So there is something that athletes coming towards their end of their career in artistic gymnastics. It doesn't have to be such a clean break, because that's so frightening for a lot of people. Like, I've done this my whole life, but now I'm done. And I can't do this unless I'm doing it at the highest level. I think that's something, an inner turmoil that you have to probably figure out yourself. But I do still like going into the gym, mate, and doing some gymnastics myself. And I do have, but I'm also mentally trying to figure out whether that's me trying not to retire.
Yeah, I mean, the personality thing is so interesting. The gymnasts out there will know it is your complete identity. And I feel like I was lucky because I was doing coaching alongside, and then before we filmed Gladiators, I was still training, and then I went into my 4th European Championships post-filming Gladiators, when everyone was like, what have you been doing? And obviously it doesn't come out for a few months, so people were like, why are you not doing this and whatever. But I took that risk for like the greater good, because again, I probably wouldn't be sat with you here today talking and getting the word out further. But I do think you have to, and again, it all comes back to my beliefs in these other disciplines as well. And calling it the Sunday League of Gymnastics really, really doesn't give it its due, because now it is at a point where you have some of the most elite level athletes, crazy gymnasts who are really well physically prepared, think about every single aspect, and the code's getting stricter and stricter, and it's becoming more and more, do you know what I mean, really, really high level of deductions on execution. And it is insane. But I think it being kind of more able to be consistent alongside your lifestyle, so you can train 3 or 4 times a week and have a couple of days off, or do a different sport when you're younger, and then let the kind of sport pick you as you get on.
Do you think moving forward, there is a future where team gym, you might be able to get paid to do team gym and have a career, and maybe team gym is where artistics was 20 years ago, right? Because when I was growing up, a lot of the senior gymnasts, they had full-time jobs. They were just doing this on the side, which it sounds like maybe where team gym is now. So do you see a future where maybe if the sport grows and the likes of yourself and other athletes from that discipline and the other disciplines around, there's always those conversations around, would tumbling be an Olympic sport and that kind of thing? Do you think there's the opportunity in the future where there could be a league or something?
Yeah,
do you hope that? Do you want that for your sport?
I mean, obviously, it's like I can sit here and be like, that is absolutely what I would love to happen. But I mean, and again, with just you saying that, it's easy to forget just how far gymnastics has come in such a short space of time.
Yeah,
like you've gone from, do you know what I mean, people now who can kind of dedicate most of their time to doing that, which is amazing. That's an incredible achievement for the sport in general. I think obviously the real problem is popularity and finances. So if you can capsulate those two, and I think that's why I like what kind of Face Off are doing, and these companies that are trying to bring the entertainment side to gymnastics alongside your usual comp, that's where they'll maybe have an opportunity. Because things like, in terms of challenging of gymnastic disciplines, like 100% something like tumbling should be in the Olympics, but that's not how this works. Do you know what I mean? It's like having an argument about why do footballers get paid so much. It's because we all watch them. Like it's not, it's common sense, isn't it?
It's very interesting what you say, mate. Maybe going down that extreme sport route and putting those big shows together, like the X Games. But, because I guess the X Games in many ways is like a human and a piece of technology, right? whether that's like a motorcycle, a bike, a scooter, you've almost could have the X Games of like what is possible with the human body in terms of the gymnastics-based disciplines, which would be like pretty cool. And that seems to be like the direction some of the disciplines in gymnastics are going down. And you've always had that, I think, like even from an artistic background, we used to go and like do tours of local fairs and stuff and do displays. And we'd have a trumpet, 3 lines of gymnasts. We'd go like in between each other. And it was like the most fun ever. Yeah. And we'd like build up towards doing double front somersaults and stuff, and it'd be hilarious because some of the kids would completely like panic in front of the people and land on their face, and you never knew what was going to happen, and there'd be kids running into each other. But it's kind of, we were doing that. We were already doing that display thing, and we were doing that in front of people because it's exciting to watch. It's great to watch. And if we just took a pommel and just circled, it wouldn't be as engaging as having all these kids running in different directions. So maybe that's the way in which that happens, mate. And maybe what artistic could do is, if there's a World Championships or the Olympic Games, find a way of bringing those sports in as part of the competition format to, you know.
It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to kind of stick to your roots without like offending too many people and changing the sport, and also creep in, do you know what I mean, these new aspects. So, but we're passionate about kind of how it can grow because it benefits everyone.
Tell me about winning your medals for Great Britain at the European Championships.
Well, it's quite a journey, really. And again, I think I'm so lucky now I can kind of sit back and really acknowledge that journey. So, first time I didn't get selected for Team GB, it was 20... So I was 17 the first time I did, so I must have been about 14, 15. And it was for like the first Team Gym European Championships, like this kind of club I was in had gymnasts go to, I believe. And I was absolutely gutted I didn't get picked to go. And I mean, I broke my leg and I wasn't ready, you know, you weren't ready, but I remember watching it. I was sat in the gym watching it, and a couple of my mates were doing it, and I was so upset. And I was like, right, okay, well, this is amazing to see. I was so proud and so happy for them, but I was also like, right, I need to do this. So a couple of years later, went into my first selection for Team GB, which again was like the most amazing thing. You know, I mean, you could probably say, how did you feel when you like first put your kit on? You're like, wow, this is like incredible. We went to a competition in Portugal, 2018, and the most amazing experience. We came 4th, which is like the hardest position to come. I fell over in the European finals as well because the levels of adrenaline I was feeling, and we were a young team. I was one of the oldest, but I still made the mistake, and it was the first time stepping out into that arena and being like, oh, well, I mean, anything could happen here. I'm just gonna like fully send it and like fly. And looking back, that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was upset, but I was so happy, and you could tell, you know, when we didn't deserve a medal. Like, we didn't. That was the right thing. It wasn't, you weren't robbed. It's not upset like that. It's like, you're so close, but just like so far. So then I spent the next like 2.5 years thinking about it, like you do, because Europeans for us are every 2 years. Okay. And we went through COVID and all the uncertainty with whether we were going to be able to compete at all. We ended up, I think the comp got cancelled and rearranged a couple of times. We ended up flying out with like half the team missing because of like track and trace, and it was just chaos. And we went through kind of, we have a qualification and a final, and we had like a couple people injured in warm-up in the podium training. Then we had a couple people in the competition get injured. So we went from like 12 gymnasts to like an 8 in the final. And I remember walking out like with the team, leading the team out and thinking, this is so personal. Like I was so ready. And again, it's that feeling where you step out there and you're like, okay, anything could happen to me right now. I'm not even going to feel it. Like, it's going to be the levels of adrenaline are unmatched. And we did the job. We managed to come 3rd, which was the most amazing thing ever. And I remember standing on that podium with European bronze medal. Obviously, I was thinking about my mum the whole time. I was like, I hope you're proud and everything. And I just thought, like, this is over. I was like, this part marks the end. And I was like, the best bit was when we didn't know if we were going to compete and we were running around the house, like trying to find something red for Zoom. So I did that. And after that, I was like, I don't think anything's going to top this. And I went through a couple of injuries. I was saying I tore my calf competing, rehabbed that, which was, again, really beneficial actually, because I took the time to go back to my roots, develop my understanding as a coach and a gymnast, reteach myself to twist a more efficient way, let's say, and go back into the cycle. I was a reserve for my next competition, which was amazing to watch kind of the team. And I genuinely believe that whether you're out there doing the business or whether you're watching and you're part of that team and experience, each person is equally as important. And then, after gladiators and all of that had kind of erupted, I had to go back. It's an honour to do it. I went back into a national cycle and I was a reserve again in Azerbaijan, and the team managed to pick up a silver medal there. So, it's a bit of a story really, but full of highs and lows.
Where did that fall then in the timeline, Joe, that being reserve at that competition in Azerbaijan, was that after the filming of Gladiator? So was that quite recently?
Yes. So that was 2 months after filming of Gladiators. So I was trying to explain like what I'm doing. Like obviously a couple people knew, but I was like trying to explain, and they're like, "Hang on a minute, you're prioritizing this."
Yeah.
And it's a really difficult conversation because I really, when I'm in something, I commit to it. And like I fully think like, well, even if you're the reserve, like that's your job. Your thing is to be ready to do this, to fully commit. But something was telling me, it was like, Joe, this is all of these people apply for this show. Like there's so many members of staff. You know literally one person who's done this before. You know one person who's had this opportunity before. And I do try and take that with me, and I try to think, well, has this person kind of been where I wanted to be before?
Yeah. Like
when I come to who inspires me. And I made the decision to be like, right, okay, I missed like 2 days training. Like, because I'd had a show, and then I had 2 days, and then I had like another show the day after. And I made that decision. And I think sometimes you have to make really hard decisions. And ultimately, again, I fully believe I don't think I'd be sat here chatting to you. Yeah. I don't think I'd have won if I hadn't have prioritised that. And now I see that as kind of making that decision. And because of that, we've got lots of gymnasts watching. I've had so many messages from people, gymnasts and non-gymnasts and other sports, of kind of inspiration. And obviously, it just feels like I'm me. But you forget how much this show and people's stories actually mean to people.
What is the pinnacle in team gym, Joe? Like, what's the highest level you can get to? Is it a world championships? Is that like as high as you go? Is that the top level? And do you have still aspirations? You know, you're still training, you're still competing in the sport. Do you have aspirations to get to that level as the team? You know, do you guys talk? You know, you said bronze medal, silver medal. Guessing the next step for the team there for Great Britain is gold. And after that, is it world championships?
So the highest level we have is European Championships.
So there's no World Championships?
There's not. So there was going to be a world test kind of event, and then with COVID, it kind of got put to the side, I think. So, I mean, it would be absolutely amazing to see like a World Championships introduced in some way. Obviously, again, that goes back to, okay, is the demand there? Is there popularity? Yeah. Can we put like together this kind of operation? Which obviously the board and all of the high ups will be working on. And I think for me that bronze medal was kind of my gold medal. And I know that sounds like one of those like, oh well, yeah, like you haven't won. But genuinely, you can have some of the most amazing experiences that maybe ultimately end up with you thinking, oh well, actually I didn't enjoy that process, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy any of my processes, but I'd be really mindful if I was to go forwards, be thinking, right, okay, so do I really want to dedicate maybe like the next 2, 3, whatever years of getting into training, like all of the caveats that come with national training and all of these responsibilities, dedicate those years to do that, to go for that gold? And I think if you're not fully invested in that, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So for me, I would love to see I'm never going to say I'm not going to try and do that, because I know that if I get something in my head, I will. But I think for me, my passion now lies within, okay, I've done this. I feel really lucky because I've come off the back now of winning, I mean, the ultimate kind of, in my opinion, television show for my background and a gymnast, and something that can help hopefully push the sport and push people into it. So I think my passion lies in kind of, I mean, your role as well, helping people to kind of understand the sport. How can we really take the next step and grow it, rather than like, and you've got all these amazing now like influencers and people in the sport that, I mean, when I was younger, again, it was you guys, and that was because of the telly. It wasn't because you can scroll past them, or. So I think that's so important.
Yeah, it's amazing what you're doing, mate. And I often think that, like, I had kind of two choices. If I was going to stay in gymnastics coaching, as it were, when I retired, I go down the traditional route of starting with a group of boys and maybe taking them all the way through, and I can have a massive impact on a small group. Or I can do what I do now, which is going into lots of schools and talking to thousands of kids and hoping to get more of those kids into gymnastics in the first place, so that hopefully there's then more gymnasts that cover the whole of that pyramid. And there's just kind of two ways to go about it. But it's great that you're thinking about using this opportunity as a real platform to promote the sport, because it is an amazing opportunity that you've got right now. And, like you said at the start, the show has done such a great job on this reboot. Reboots don't often work. And, I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, they've made the gladiators into like, they know exactly what it's like, the WWE, right? Like, it's that kind of model. And I've got kids that I coach and I go, do you watch Gladiators? And then they start arguing about the Gladiators, who's the best, and they're like, not Viper, Viper's horrible. And it's so smart and clever in terms of the storytelling, the branding, the market they've gone for, like you said, to now be somebody that's a champion of the Gladiators. It's just, you've got to, being someone that was part of the London 2012 Olympic Games and winning a medal, and now looking back as an older man at that opportunity and going, oh my gosh, that was a once in a lifetime moment. Like, now, in hindsight, if I went back, I'd be like, I would have maximized that like 100 times more than I did at the time. So, yeah, as someone that experienced that, I'm saying make the most of it. Because you never know, like you said, when will you get a chance like that again? And quite often in life, right? Like, you don't know when you're going to get your opportunity. So you've got to take it when you do get it. And you've done that, mate. When you were getting ready for the show, were you training specifically for it? Like, what kind of things were you doing? How do you train for a show like that? You said that you've got also a rugby background. Were you looking at the past season and seeing the events? Do you get any instruction from anybody on, let's say, a casting day?
So I think, in terms of the good moments, like you say, I mean, I sit here and like you're saying that, being part of like the Olympic team, and that I'm getting goosebumps. Like, I think you never know often when you're in the moment. And that's why I think, again, and you'll take this into your life, and you will have been, I feel grateful that now I'm going to be able to kind of go forwards. And again, gymnastics taught me that, to just enjoy what's happening, because sometimes you can do your best thing. And from a team sport, it might not be you that makes a mistake that costs you something. So it's quite hard. Yeah. But I think you have to enjoy what you're doing in the moment. So I'm definitely incredibly grateful. In terms of the training, obviously I had kind of Roddy, who was on the show, and you can go back and watch as many past episodes and series as you want. My main thing was obviously gymnast, going on gladiators, right, this guy's going to be able to swing, hang, fly around everywhere. And then obviously I'm also explaining to the producers and that, like, I don't do rings, I don't go on the bar. and like you kind of feel like when you say you're a gymnast but you don't do that, they're like, what? Like, what? You're a gymnast, but sorry, you don't do the rings, like. So my big thing was, okay, so I'm quite heavy, I'm quite stocky lad. So I was like, right, if I'm going to get around the Eliminator course the fastest as possible, I'm going to have to drop a couple of kilos. So we dropped a couple of kilos. We did a lot of hanging. Again, you'll know, like, I mean, I'm the size of your forearms. I'm getting intimidated over here. Injuries to the wrist, forearms, elbows, they're a nightmare. So a lot of it was like little and often, but kind of getting that into the system and getting used to the hanging and stuff.
And is that, Joe, is that, just for specifics for people listening, because I think they'll find it interesting, is that pull-ups and chin-ups? Is that rock climbing? Like, what kind of stuff is that?
Yeah, I mean, anything that's incorporating kind of grip strength. And I mean, I've not got really weak grip strength, but obviously when you're doing a row or something is different to when you're hanging and swinging and jumping with your body weight.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of preparation with that, doing obviously tiny bit of climbing, lots of hanging, lots of swinging, lots of jumping, pull-ups, and just going back, I suppose, to mastering that body weight, because I knew that would be what kind of, if you can make it through the events, obviously that was kind of my time where I had the opportunity to show how I can take a hit in powerball on contact. And hopefully, if I got through that unscathed, how could I be in the best position to perform well? And I was like, right, we need to be a little bit lighter. I think with anything like this, you can prepare and prepare and prepare, but eventually there's only so much you can do when someone's going to run at you, and you have the unpredictability of contact and all of these things. And I think if you were preparing for the show, you have to use lots of different planes of movement. You have to be able to take a bit of a hit, which I imagine I'm an ex-academy rugby player, so I don't love getting smashed into.
But you were comfortable with that feeling, right?
But like, if someone ran at me and put me down, I know how that feels. And I suppose if you run at one of the glads and you've never had that,
yeah,
that must be it'd be a
that's
big
an
shock.
interesting element of the show, isn't it? Like that contact. And if you might be someone that's done a sport to a very high level, but if you've never done if you've never played rugby or maybe done a martial art or something like, and had that physical close-up contact, that would be very alien, wouldn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Because someone hitting you hard is like, holy, what the fuck's just happened? Like that really is a different experience to necessarily doing your sport. So that, because what I was going to ask you, having done the show and now won it, if you knew someone then going on the show, what would you recommend they do in training, in preparing themselves for it?
It's a good question. I think that obviously it's trying to make yourself as robust as possible, because when you're filming something like a television show, it isn't like, okay, right, we're doing this all back to back. There's gaps, there's pauses, there's breaks. So understanding that, being able to recover quickly, being able to be good at high bursts of energy for a short, intense period of time, which is gymnastics. And then being able to, okay, lower yourself down, heart rate back, okay, switch your mind off, get back in the zone of something else, and then being able to ramp up. Because you come out of it and you've had like 6 adrenaline spikes and crashes in a day, and you're lying in bed and you're like, what is going on? So like, it's literally like replicating a performance environment, like you probably felt when you're going around the pieces. Train smart, use different planes. Obviously, as a gymnast, I'm forwards or backwards, and that was one thing I do feel lucky with from rugby, because contact is really unpredictable. And besides, if you're maybe making a mistake and twisting into the ground or something, you're very often in like the same planes of motion. And that's something where you might take a knock and be sideways on the floor or something. So yeah, and I think success in it looks very different, doesn't it? Because you can come from, there's a few different backgrounds, like the climbers, they all think, well, the wall's going to be fine, any hang tough and the Eliminator will be fine, but they have their struggle of, okay, I'm going to have to run into the gauntlet, I'm going to have to play Powerball or the ring. And where my side was, okay, so everyone's going to think I'm really good on everything, like the rings and stuff, so I'm not expecting to do really good there. But okay, can I kind of shock people when they go, oh, well, look, he's not giving up there. He can take a hit, and he's done that. And so, yeah, it was mostly training for the Eliminator at the end. Because the games, well, the events, they are, I don't feel like they're there. They're there for you to score points, but the aim is like you go against the gladiators. I don't think you should have the mindset of, I'm going to win every event, because they're the elite athlete. They're the one who's coming to show you who's boss, and you're just there challenging them. So I think maybe have the mindset of, okay, the events can go either way.
Yeah.
And I need to focus on the Eliminator.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, because it was very rare that there was a massive gap in terms of the timing between when the first person would start in the Eliminator and the person you were racing against, essentially, because there's not enough events to build up such a massive gap, right? So even if that was like 4 or 5 seconds, it's pretty tight when you're coming up to like that rope climb at the beginning. If it's someone that's not from like a gymnastics or climbing background, they're going to struggle. You can make that time up fast. So it's interesting that you say that maybe the mindset and the approach to the events in the beginning is more like, right, I kind of just have to physically survive these events and try and do my best to get myself to the start line of the Eliminator, like, ready to go. Was there anything that you did, Joe, to prepare yourself for the Eliminator? Because for people listening that didn't watch the show, you broke the record. You did it in the quickest time. So was there anything that you were doing to prepare for that in the build-up, or did you just find when you tried it the first time you were actually just really good at it?
So obviously you get to run through it in the training day, but I was very conscious of, and I don't know, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this. And as I was approaching a competition or as I was approaching a show, especially as I've got older, my mind shifted from, let's make sure I've done 100,000 reps of this thing in the last week. It's, I want to get to the training on the day. I want to get to the day and I want to see how I feel. And I want to kind of, do you know what I mean? And then if you go out and, you know what I mean, as long as you're there and you've done your thing and stuff and that. So I think definitely with the Eliminator, we did a lot of swinging, like I said, hanging. And for me, that was most of it, because I'm quite explosive over short distances from rugby and being able to sprint down the track or at the trampette, which my family were shocked at. We played on leash the first event, and I ran out, and apparently my family was saying like, "Whoa, I didn't know he could run that fast." And I'm like, I spent my whole life running like in a straight line for like 20 meters. So yeah, I mean, I'm quite explosive naturally. So in the training and when I was analysing what we were going to be doing, I was using kind of my gymnastic roots, and I was thinking, okay, well, I want to know how everything feels. I want to feel the rope. I want to know what the monkey bars feel like on my hands, stuff like that. And people are like, why are you like stroking the monkey bars? And I'm like, I want to know what it feels like. Like, and then the travelator, that's a lot of that is incredibly hard, but also, okay, technique, how when I hit it, like it moves straight away, so you can't just jump like a normal treadmill. You have to approach that, and yeah, we're just trying to replicate that in any way possible, whether it was in the gym or in an environment. And you can be quite creative with setting that up. So
I bet as well, now that the series is in series 2, the gladiators are getting better, right? They're starting to understand the events, and I've seen some of them that I follow online they're doing specific training. I can say, oh, you're doing that for that event. So as time goes on, I guess the gladiators it's going to be harder to beat them, isn't it? And also you'd expect the contenders are going to have a blueprint of the type of areas you need to be strong in to give yourself a good chance of winning. What advantages do you think gymnastics gave you, Joe, in that show? And do you feel like gymnastics is an advantage?
Yeah, I think as anything goes on, like, you just have more reps, don't you? Like, the gladiators have done more reps, and they've tried different things that have worked, things that haven't worked, and the contenders have probably figured out, right, well, on this event I can get these points, and they can't really do anything, and then there's you have more information, and you can kind of go on your path with more direct accuracy. I think gymnastics mostly, and it's a bit the answer you would expect is it kind of taught me not to give up.
Okay.
And I don't want to say that and be like, oh yeah, well, obviously, yeah. But you're gonna get knocked down, and being able to just be used to that and like be okay with, like, do you know what I mean, losing an event and then not thinking, oh, like, I've lost that one. Because whenever I got on the dual platform, my aim was like, don't make myself look silly. I mean, it didn't work, and I ended up off it constantly. I spent more time in the air than I did on the dual platform. But I think gymnastic obviously gave me an incredible foundation of, okay, strength, kind of athletic ability and determination, but obviously tied in with that kind of rugby aspect of unpredictability, contact, and yeah, the different planes of motion. So I do, looking back, I do think, oh, actually, like, I've probably had a good foundation for that show.
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're going to get there and you're not going to pull your hamstring. You know,
Yeah.
like all these things can happen. So
And I imagine spatial awareness as well, right? Because was it Powerball where you jumped 2 gladiators?
Oh.
And was it in that game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing that if you're a gymnast, because I know I'd straight in situations like that, without even thinking what I'm doing, my mind is thinking, how can I get in the air? And because I'm watching it going, oh, this looks so much fun to see what like my body would do in these scenarios and stuff. And I was like, you're not doing that if you're not a gymnast, because if you're not a gymnast, you're not going to know how to fall and roll out and do that kind of stuff, because you're so comfortable in the air being upside down, right? Because you know exactly where you are.
I did a few bits, and I was thinking, and Roddy and I, obviously Roddy's a gymnast, or was a gymnast and a coach, and we spoke about how when he was doing it and what he did and what he fought and the rolling and things like falling off the platforms and all these things. So I had a few things up my sleeve. Some of them came off, and some of them you just don't get an opportunity to. So when I think it was Steel and Legend kind of in front of me just collapsed, and I saw the top of the bucket, I was thinking, this is it. Whatever happens, I'm gonna go for it, because again, you make it or you don't. I mean, there's videos of Roddy jumping over like, Trojan or whoever was playing Powerball, or Wolf, and the gladiators, maybe someone was there to just knock the ball away, whereas on this occasion it just paid off. And I practiced in training. I did a few jumps over the bins and a couple of flips. But the flips got less and less as the series went on, because I was thinking, you cannot be the guy who gets injured from doing a backflip.
Yeah, and you're right. And I guess it's that consistency, because I do watch it and I go, these guys are getting beat up. And even like the gladiators, like putting it on the contenders, like it's physically... I imagine it's a bit like wrestling, right? Like people think, oh, wrestling, it's not real, it's fake. But you see a lot of those wrestlers and you listen to conversations with them, and their bodies are shot to pieces by the end of their career, because you're still doing those reps and that volume, and you're recording lots of shows, right? How many times before you got through each round, Joe, are you able before the event to practice the event on the day, or do you just go straight into it cold?
So you get to train all the events, and you do get to practice them.
Before you film?
Before you film them, obviously.
Okay.
And they want to know you're kind of competent, you know what you're doing, and that's just general health and safety as well. And
is that each time you film, Joe? So then when you go through and you've done quarters or semis or finals,
you do a group training,
right? Okay.
Like before, and there's just so much unpredictability, and people they come to me and they say like, oh, is it scripted? I'm like, no, no. Do you think the gladiators like want to lose? No. Do you no one goes on there wants to lose?
Yeah.
And you have to go against them.
Yeah.
And the producers are kind of being like, okay, who's best for this job? The contenders, and they're picking the contenders. But then when you get out there, it's you and the gladiator, and you can't script something like a Powerball
not
game.
Contact, right?
Do you know what I mean? Like you are. Yeah. It hurts. I had one of the best battles in the ring with Zach George Steele, who is such a massive inspiration to me, alongside someone like Legend, who I've watched for years, and he just absolutely hammered me. He's the strongest guy I've ever been in contact with. And we just had a bit of a dance, and again, it's just you're getting thrown about, and it is fun in a crazy way. But yeah,
it's amazing, mate. And those gladiators, you know, they don't want anyone beating them, right? Because they've got their pride on the line, and you know, a lot of them, like you say, were very successful athletes themselves. So they're trying to figure out how to. Are they having conversation? You know, if you come on the show and you do very well, right? Are they going away and going, right, how do we beat this guy in this game? Because in a lot of the games, they're working together, right? So I'm sure that they're strategizing and game planning and figuring it out as they go along.
Genuinely, I mean, I would have no idea in the process of that, but I would 100% be pretty certain that, I mean, as an elite level athlete and somebody, you'd be having a plan going into what you're doing. And it might be the first couple of episodes or first time you're playing the games, they were like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what this is going to be like or anything. And then obviously I'm sure they share notes in the locker room, but game respect game. And they're genuinely, like, genuine, humble, elite level athletes. And if you, again, going into it, I was like, well, I respect these guys so highly. So I was like, just to get to have a go against them.
And it's an amazing opportunity for them as well, right? Like, it's an amazing opportunity to be a gladiator.
Oh, incredible.
So they're buzzing that they're a gladiator. Do you know what I mean? Because the opportunities that they get from that, they're all over TV. You know, I did a school event 2 weeks ago, and they were like, oh, tomorrow one of the gladiators is coming into the school. So they're now going around, which is a great thing, that they're going into schools and they're inspiring those kids, because kids really do like, I think kids see them as like role models, which is an amazing thing. Like, it's a big responsibility. So it's not just the contenders that have got this amazing, it's for them as well. And yeah, it's brilliant to see all of that. As we're getting towards the end, Joe, what was it like winning the trophy? I know that you've got it down here, and I'm excited to hold it.
Just hiding out of sight.
Yeah, what was it like? I guess going through the end. I mean, what is it that you go through on the Eliminator? Is it
paper?
Is it paper? So when you go through that paper on the Eliminator, you swing through the rope. Like, what was that moment like?
I mean, it was just incredible. What you think I would say for winning something like this? Like, before we set off, I hadn't had in my head that I was going to win, because it was like, I knew it was the last one. So I was like, oh, well, I'm going to enjoy every second. And I feel like I'm a winner already. So if I go through that paper second or first, we're going to have a ball and it's going to be great. And the same thing with Muss. He's such a lovely guy. And we both have inspirations or aspirations of helping children in what we do. Kind of, he's a youth worker. I work with lots of gymnasts and kids. So whoever went through that paper, like, everyone had won, really. But obviously, when it comes to it, performance mindset kicked in, and I was like, right, okay. I was looking at, there was a poster, my family was sat about here. I was looking at a poster of my mum, my late mum, Claire, and Grandma Christine was sat watching. Set off, and I just went all guns blazing. And then going through the paper, I lie on the mat for a second, and I was thinking, there's like thousands of people in the arena watching me. This can't be real. And I like roll over, and then like Bradley and Barney are there, and Mark Clattenburg's there with the trophy. And I'm like, oh my gosh! And it was from someone who's I've had success in what I've done, and a lot of the time, like, my success is like, oh, okay, coming second or whatever. It was an incredible feeling to be able to win it and say I'm the champion. And it was just the best way to kind of devote it to my mum, finish and really seal off that journey of something which I'm sure will be one of the highlights of my life forever.
It's so cool, mate. Like, I'm proud of you for someone that's,
thanks,
you know, someone that's representing the sport. You know, like, the sport of gymnastics doesn't get opportunities like that or spotlights like that on it, and especially someone from the sport of team gym. So I'm well aware of how much this will mean to your community in your discipline within gymnastics. And as a massive fan of the show, mate, it was just really cool to watch a gymnast, because I've often thought, I wonder what a gymnast would do on that. Like, surely they'd be good, because there's always that argument, and we've had it on the podcast before, much to the anger of a lot of other athletes, where I've said gymnastics is the best base sport. And so to see someone go on a show like that was really, really cool, mate. So congratulations for all of that. What's next for you, Joe? What have you got? What are your plans? I'm sure, you know, you're going to have some different opportunities coming your way from this. Is it just to maximise those and make the most of it and then continue doing what you're doing? I
think going forwards, it's got to be, okay, we've had this most amazing experience and this platform to our sport. And again, we all, I feel like, within your community, everyone kind of respects what people are doing. And I sit there and think, well, this is amazing what Sam's doing with his podcast and all the other things you do, because you're shining a light on the sport and maybe like getting in a new audience or someone else, and you never know who's sat there watching that might just be inspired by a talk you had. So it absolutely amazing. I think I want to definitely continue, like you said, okay, so I'm still currently a coach at the kind of top level, but also I've been thinking, right, how can I really maximise my kind of blueprint on this footprint on the sport? And something like the show has probably been really good for that. And okay, how else could we really just show everybody that gymnastics isn't for that 1%, 0.1%? It can be for everyone. So continue doing that along work and the clubs we have, and obviously we're growing our club, Sports Club Newcastle, which is in Newcastle. And I think, I work with lots of people online. So I do strength and conditioning for gymnasts online and fitness clients. So that as well. But depending on the opportunity, I'd love to do similar things. I mean, the dream would be to obviously them to call me and just say, Joe, we want you to be a gladiator. And I have that dream all the time. I'm like,
what would your gladiator name be?
It's that thing, isn't it? I've said this so many times now. And everyone's like, oh, no, I've not. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And then you be able to whip out a few names and you're like, I think it would have to be obviously gymnastic-y themes. So maybe like gravity, because that'd be good because I could defy it.
That's quite good, mate. Yeah, I came up with a name and mine was Iron Cross, like the Iron Cross on the rings. And then I found out that was that was a Nazi war medal. God, he was like, "You can't use that." I was like, "No, I wouldn't."
I don't know if that would.
I thought that was great. I was like, "Oh my God, this will be amazing." The Iron Cross, and I was thinking of like my dance and stuff.
I was gonna,
That'd come out, do a somersault, and then do the Iron Cross.
You definitely don't need to think about your dance for that. I don't think that would get past the watershed
in the background, thinking, "I don't know if we can we put that out?"
Yeah, I don't.
So I need a new name, mate. But gravity is very, very good. I spoke to, do you know Courtney Tulloch?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said to Courtney, I was like, Courtney, mate, you should be a gladiator. Surely there's room for there's got to be a gymnast gladiator. Surely. I know that they're all 6'5", but there are so many gymnastics-based events. I was like, mate, come on, it's built for you. But he's obviously still very much trying to compete at the top level and wants to go to LA. But maybe when he's retired in a few years, it could be a good option.
I heard he was. Obviously, I've followed him for a long time, and I heard, was it to do with a code change that he thought he could?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, mate. Yeah,
less moves, maybe.
Yeah, less moves. So in artistic gymnastics, there are now, instead of 10 moves, there's just 8. And he was gonna retire, and I think he just looked at it and went, "Do you know what? I've spent my whole life doing 10. 8's essentially a 20% decrease in the amount of work and volume I'm gonna have to do. Let's keep going." And he looks, to be honest, this new code. That's a great thing about artistic. I don't know whether this is the same in team gym, but those rule changes can be quite significant, and this time around they really suit his style of gymnastics. So he looks, he's flying at the moment and he's doing very exciting gymnastics. That's a cool thing I think about the code changes in the lead up to LA in men's artistic. It's really promoting the exciting skills, so triple backs and
that's what it's about.
So that's what it's about, because that's what people engage with, right? And that's what's exciting. So.
And keeping that code change has kept him in the sport.
Yeah.
And obviously, I followed him for ages. Loved watching him on the rings, and you get to do that again selfishly. But also, you don't know how many youngsters are going to see the next games or the next comp or whatever he does going forward. So it's massive and it's great. It's going in the right direction.
Before we finish, can I have a look at your trophy, Joe?
You can. It is.
So do you get to keep this one?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time when you'll notice, you do gymnastics. That's weighty.
It's a good trophy, isn't it?
That is weighty. When a lot of the time when you do gymnastics competitions, you have to give it back, don't you, the next year?
It's terrible. So I remember once you stand on the stage and you get an award, and then you see all the names and you're thinking, I'm going to have to give this back.
Mate, that is so cool.
It's good. It's
yeah, for people listening, it's got some serious weight to it.
Christine's mantelpiece, I think, will be the place it goes.
Are you taking it around places? And do you do schools, Joe? That's 100% something you should do. Do you do school events?
Yeah. So, I've done a few before, and obviously with the show and stuff, it's something that I'm definitely interested in going forward and doing.
Yeah, sharing your story in schools, because you've got not only, look, when you go into a school and you're a great storyteller, I've loved listening to your stories today, but you go into a school and you talk to 300 kids and you can do a backflip. You've literally got them in your back pocket from minute one. To then be able to go on and have won the gladiators and take your trophy, mate, you should be doing that, because, you spoke there about going into gyms one day and coaching for free and stuff. Yeah, certainly go into your school and just, you never know who you're going to inspire doing that. But definitely look at going into schools, mate. Of all the work that I do, and I do quite a lot at the moment, the work that I feel is the most valuable is the schoolwork when I go into schools. I feel like that makes the biggest difference, because I think when you're a kid, you only really believe what you see with your eyes. So people can tell you things, but until you can see it. And so for people in your area where you're from, to see someone that's actually done that, and you could be, I was just like you. I wasn't the most talented gymnast, and look, it's taken me to European medals for Great Britain, and now I've won the gladiators. Like, for a kid, that's like gold dust, you know. So definitely look at doing that a bit more, mate.
No, it's an incredible opportunity, and I think, again, like, even you saying it, like, European medals and winning gladiators, like, I stand there when I do schools and I put on the board my achievements, and you'll be the same, I'm sure, like, and you would look at it and you're like, wow, did I actually do that? You're like, whoa. So yeah, it's another thing where I feel grateful to be able to go and do that, and you never know what kind of might click with this kid.
Yeah.
They might be having such a hard time, and that's why it's so important, I feel like, going on the show and being like, right, look, I lost my mum. I was lucky I had this amazing grandmother figure who kind of brought me up. Some people aren't this lucky. So if you're going through a challenging time, adversity can be your superpower. And I genuinely believe I am the way I am today because of everything that happened to me in the sport.
It's an amazing message, mate. Joe, top man. Thank you very much, mate.